Word, what's going on, everybody? This is Paul from Prior Witness, and today this is part 3 of our continuing series going over scenes. Today we're going to go over way in depth on how to make presets work with our scenes. We're going to go really in depth with this stuff. What we're going to be able to do is we're going to take 3 of these switches. We're going to divide this video up into 2 halves. So the first half, we're going to make switch 1, switch 2, and switch 3, very basic scenes, all utilizing different forms of presets, manipulating amps and drive pedals, things of that nature. And then the second half of this video, we're going to go way more in depth. We're going to make it so that switch 1 is going to be a heavy and a lead tone. We're going to make it so that switch 2 is going to be a clean and a dirty tone. And then switch 3, we're just going to have a regular pedal, being able to manipulate whatever we wish. So it's going to be a while. So let's go ahead and get started. Before I get into the hardware presets and all that stuff, just want to take you real quick through the rig I'm using. I've got a drop tune pedal, which we're not going to mess with at all. We've got a compressor pedal, which is going to be used with our clean tones. We've got a volume pedal. We've got a drive pedal, the SD1 to be precise. We've got the angle, as well as we've got a clean tone here. We've got a clean amp over here. It's the Jazz Chorus, just came out on the latest firmware update. We've got a chorus pedal, gate pedal. We've got a delay pedal here. It's our tape echo. And then finally, we have a reverb pedal. So what I want you to do, go ahead and click on these 3 dots up at the top right-hand corner of the screen. We're going to click on Hardware Assign. Now you'll notice we've got 3 different pluses. We also have a color scheme up top. We want this to be our red color for this particular one. And then we're going to go plus. Click on the amp that we want to mess with. To be honest, it really doesn't matter what we select here, because everything's going to be dependent on the scene we're going to be choosing here. Go ahead and click on the toggle switch to bring up the scenes. Go edit. Now here's where we're going to be messing with our different scenes. Before I started this video, I already have some of the stuff preset, but I'm going to still take you through these. Please note that under each amp or effect pedal, you see a label that says no preset. Some of these already have presets assigned. We'll get into that here in a moment. And then above is where you turn on or off, or just leave it alone. For this particular example, we're only going to have 1 scene per switch. So I just deleted one of the scenes there that was already there before I started the video. My apologies for that. Now we're going to get started here. So for this first switch, we're setting up a heavy tone. So things are going to be very simple here. But we're also going to have presets assigned to these. So first off, we're going to say drop tune is going to be no change. Compressor, we want it off. Volume is no change. We're going to turn on drive pedal on. And then here we're going to make a preset. Now, you should already have these presets already created. You can use ones that are already made right out of the box, or you can make your own. I've made my own here. This one's called Boost. I've actually saved over this one that was already installed right out of the box. I have this slightly edited to my taste. Next, we're going to have the amp on. And then we're also going to select a different preset. Now we have our angle amp here, and for this particular case, I want this to be my heavy rhythm tone. So I have a preset here named Angle Rhythm. I'm going to select that. This is one I have created based off of an angle preset already created. It was the EPB2 High-LD is the one I based it off of. I just slightly tweaked some of the parameters and created my own called Angle Rhythm. Something else too I want you to take notice here is that there are a lot of presets here already. These presets are not just for the angle amp themselves, rather these presets are actually for all of the amps. There's some wild and crazy stuff we're going to get into here later on in this video, where you can actually make a preset per each amp. So you could, in theory, have multiple amps on one rig and never switch out any of the amps manually. You can do it all through presets. Pretty wild stuff. Anyway, let's go back. After we've selected our rhythm preset, amp 2 is going to be off, chorus is off, gate is going to be on, tape echo off, reverb is off. That's scene 1, switch 1. Switch 2. We're going to make this our clean tone, so we're going to select amp number 2, which is our jazz chorus amp. Click the toggle switch, then click Edit to do your next scene. Okay, real quick, I'm going to delete this other preset here. Drop tune, we're going to make that no change. Compressor's now on. Volume pedal should be no change. We're going to have our drive pedal off. The angle amp is off. Jazz amp is on. Now here we're also going to have a preset here. Now I've already created one. I call it Metal Clean 2. But this preset is derived off of here. I'll show you where it came from. The stock preset is plus 84J-120H if you're curious. But in this case I have Metal Clean 2. That is my jazz chorus. It's a very nice clean amp, by the way, reminiscent of a lot of those 80s tones. One of my all-time favorite clean tones is actually off the And Justice for All album by Metallica. You get a lot of that great clean tone energy from the jazz chorus amp from the song 1. Greatest song ever. We got gate pedal is off, chorus is on, echo is off, reverb is on. That is scene 2. We're going to have the color be green over there. All right. Now let's make a third scene for our third switch. We are going to make this our lead tone. We're going to base this off of our angle amp. Let's click on scene here, edit. All right. For our lead patch, we're going to make it pink because if you're a real man, you love pink. And if you don't love pink, well then, I don't know what you're doing in life. I really don't. Dripping with sarcasm. Okay, drop tune is going to be off. Well, no change, sorry. Compressor is going to be off. Volume, no change. Here, we are going to select our drive pedal. But for this instance, because we're having a lead tone, there's going to be a few parameters we're going to slightly tweak here to make our lead tone pop a little bit more. I have presets already created for this. So we're going to turn on the drive, which you see it's already on here. But you can just click on that until you get it to on. Then here we're going to click on the button below it, which would be no preset probably for you. Here it's already selected SD leads. I made this prior to making this video, but here you can see I have a lot of different presets under this pedal alone. The preset for switch 1 was boost. Here for scene 1 under switch 3, we're going to have a slightly different modification of that SD drive pedal, and that's going to be SD lead. On the amp, we're going to kick up our distortion a little bit more, kick in the mid boost on the angle amp, and we have a preset for that, and we're calling it angle lead. Amp 2 is going to be off. We obviously don't want our clean amp on at the same time, or maybe you do, and that's your thing. Awesome, great for you, not for me. Chorus is going to be on, gate is on. We're going to have our delay pedal then on for this scene, and then our reverb is going to be on. Things are going to go crazy for this one. It's going to be awesome. Okay, so with that, we're going to back up. You can change the scene names for all of these if you want, but to save time, we're not going to change the names because this video is going to go long enough as it is. Here is scene 1. Here's our heavy rhythm tone. Now we're going to switch to our clean tone. This is scene 2. All right, and then we have scene 3, which is our lead tone. Pretty neat, right? You can hear my kid in the background. She approves. All right, let's try something a little bit more nutty. Now that we're 10 minutes into the video, let's do something a little bit different. For this next exercise, we are going to take switch 1 and we're going to make this into 2 scenes with a bunch of different presets. This is now going to be starting with our heavy tone, and then when we click the switch again, it'll end up being our lead tone. For switch 2, the primary scene here, the first one is going to be our clean tone, but then if we switch this switch again, we are going to create a dirty tone. And in addition to that, I'm going to show you something a little crazy. Instead of using our drive pedal to get that dirty tone in combination with a clean amp, we are going to, through a preset, select an entirely different amp you don't see on this screen right now. We're going to switch it to a Vox. I'll show you that. And then switch number 3, we aren't going to have a scene for this case. We're just going to make it our delay pedal. Because why not? In theory, you could have 6 scenes going on here at once. 3 switches, 2 scenes per switch. But in this case, we're only going to have 4 scenes, and then we're going to have this one switch be our delay. So let's get started. With our first switch selected, scene 1, that's going to be our heavy tone, obviously. We are going to click on the 3 dots, hardware assign. We're going to click on edit the scene here. Now we already have our heavy tone set up, so we don't need to mess with that, which is awesome. We have the color red indicating that's our heavy tone. Let's click on this plus button here so we can create a second scene on this switch. For this one, we're going to make it our lead tone. A lot of this already is set up because I already had this set up prior, but we're going to go through it again for you. So drop tune, no change. Compressor, we want that off. Volume, no change. SD drive, we're going to make that on. We have our preset set for SD lead, so we don't need to go in there, but just to show you, click on that, click our preset. Our angle amp, that's going to be on. We want that to be our lead preset. We want the jazz chorus amp off. Chorus is going to be on. Gate is going to be on. And our delay is going to be on. Reverb is going to be on. So that signifies our lead tone there. All right. Now for scene 2, we're going to edit the scene. We already have our clean tone set up for scene 1 under switch 2. So we're going to click the plus button here, bring up the next one. Now we're going to select our dirty tone. We'll start with the color here. We're going to make it yellow. I don't know. For me, I equate the dirty tones with like a yellow or something, or an orange. Heavy is usually red for me, and then clean is green, so on and so forth. All right, now we're going to make a few more changes here. Drop tune, no change. Our compressor is going to be off. I want a little bit more dynamics and a lot more control with my dirty tone, so that's why that's going to be off. Volume is going to be no change. SD drive. All right, so you can do 2 things. I'm going to show you both. So we're going to have the SD drive on, and then here we're going to select a different preset. I have one here to give me a nice little crunchy tone, so we're going to go light. The angle amp is going to be off, no preset. We're going to have the jazz chorus on, and then here we are going to make sure our clean amp is selected, so we got that preset going. Metal clean 2. We got our chorus is now going to be off. Gate is off. Echo is off. Reverb, I don't know. We'll leave it on, I guess. Okay. And then for our third switch, we are going to have this, instead of being a scene, we're going to click the scene button there. Sorry, I meant to do that. So we can switch this out to a pedal. We're going to make this our delay pedal. All right. There we go. Now all of our scenes are selected. One of the things that I want to emphasize here, you notice the colors changed on those real quick. And the reason for that is your scenes, when you switch from one switch to another, will default to the first scene. So the scenes that you primarily use, you should probably have those as scene 1 in each switch. And then the secondary ones should be on scene 2 under each switch. Okay? So if you go from a heavy tone like this one, and then you do like a lead, and then you want to do like a clean next. So select that clean, then you go back to like a clean tone or something. Well, now when you go back to switch 1, it's not going to go back to your lead tone. It's going to go back to your heavy tone. All right. And then we have the option, you know, of using our tape echo. But anyway, so here's our dirty tone. Now that we're using a different preset for our drive. All right, now let's say you're not a fan of that. And my child agrees, if you can hear her in the background. She doesn't like that either. So what we're going to do is, if we're not a fan of using our drive pedal with the current clean amp that we've got selected, and we want a different kind of dirty tone, but man, if we could only use like a different amp, how do we do that? Well, we can. I'm going to show you how. Let's click on the 3 dots, hardware assign. We're going to edit this second switch that's contains our dirty tone under scene 2. And I recommend that you switch out the amp that you don't want to use for that other amp. So what I'm getting at here is that if your heavy amp, you like what your heavy amp is, but you don't want that accidentally switched out between scenes. I mean, as long as you keep all the presets selected, you should be okay. I would recommend, since we're switching from our clean amp to our dirty amp, I would keep all that under the same amp. But you, in theory, could switch out amps and just keep one amp in a block. It is possible to do that. I don't know. For me, it's cleaner this way. Maybe I'm weird. I don't know. So for this particular scene, for our dirty channel, let's go ahead and just have our drive off. We're going to have that amp off. Now we're going to get a little crazy. Amp 2, that block is going to be on, but now we're going to select a different preset. Something to note here again is that you have presets for every amp available to you. And the reason for that is when you are switching between presets on amps, you aren't limited to just that amp. You actually have the entire library of amplifiers available to you. So in this case, we want to switch from our jazz chorus amp to a Vox style amp. I love the Vox sound for dirty tones. If you want a Marshall tone, awesome. It doesn't really matter here, but for today's purposes, we are going to use the Vox. So here we've got a preset for the AC boost. So that's going to go on. And then we have that preset selected. Chorus is going to be off. Gate is going to be off. Tape echo off. All that stuff. And I don't even want my reverb on this time. We're going to have that off. Okay, cool. So now we have a different kind of preset selected. So let's back up. All right. For visual purposes, this amp that you see right here before you, that is the jazz chorus under scene 2, or excuse me, scene 1, switch 2. Now we're going to select this different, well, let's hear it first. Here's the jazz chorus. Press the switch again to go to scene 2 under channel 2. Look at that. The amp just changed in front of you. Now it's the Vox. Pretty neat, huh? So now you're not limited to just one amp. And you can, and for this exercise, we got the echo there, so. So there you have it. Thank you for sticking around with me. And you can hear my kids squawking in the background. Hopefully that brings you a little bit of joy. I know it does me. I love hanging out with my kid. But anyways, there's a little more in-depth look on how scenes and presets can work in tandem with one another. You can change out amps with presets. You can have a drive pedal go from just like a boost sounding pedal all the way up to screaming drive sounds and all kinds of stuff. You can even change parameters within these effects pedals. You can have like a chorus pedal go from a subtle, rich sounding chorus to one of those crazy, the rate is way up and you've got that crazy sounds going on there. You can do stuff like that if you want. A lot of flexibility with these switches. Hope you learned something here today, guys. With that, take it easy. Thanks for watching, and keep rocking.